Is the government designed to see us fail?
It's a great question. I would honestly have to say it depends on three things: your race, gender, religion, actually make it four, and sexuality. In my personal opinion, do I feel as though the government is designed to see us fail? I'm probably gonna have to say yeah, because let's talk about education. They tell you go to school. Everybody can't get a scholarship.
Yeah.
So they'll give you student loans. They'll throw it on you. They go to school, get your education.
Yeah.
But when you graduate college, you could be $100,000 in debt, sometimes 200,000. But I can't even get a job making half the money that I'm indebted for. And let's take it a step further. You get caught out in the street selling drugs or doing drugs. They'll throw you in jail,
Yeah.
but they won't get you help. Like they won't put you in a rehabilitation center. They'll just be like, okay, he gonna do like 3 to 5 or 7 to 10, 7 to 10, however many, but they won't get you help. So my question is are they really designed to see us win or to see us fail?
I feel like even though, yes, the system in my perspective, it's designed, it appears it's designed for us to fail. There's a lot of things that are already against us. So what tools are already given to us that we can actually learn from and build from? They give us the loans, or they give us the equipment, let's say, for us to put ourselves further in debt or to be deemed as ignorant. But how are we, in turn, in our communities, teaching the proper way to do things? Like when it comes to credit cards, when it comes to loans, interest. Yeah, we learn a few things in school, but at some point in the household or your family, when can you sit down and have a conversation and say, look, when you go to college or when you get that job that you're looking for, when you get an account, savings or checking account, do you know how to calculate or, accrue your interest? Do you know how to invest?
Yeah.
Certain things that we can teach as well, because the government, yes, they have a lot of things against us and stipulations that may attempt to hinder us, but how can we use those same tools to turn it back around and put it to our favor? That's how I feel. Like, how can I, in turn, help my community, my loved ones, nieces and nephews, figure those things out and go from there?
To piggyback off of what he said, when you say the government, for instance, there's different section of the government. You can't blame the government for the whole thing. Now, to the question, does the government basically is made to make the people fail? It depends on which people you're talking about. If you act a certain race of people, they'll say no, because they're well off. If you ask, let's say, since we're black people, they would say yes. I mean, you have proof of that. The Tuskegee experiment that they did back in the day, look it up, everybody. They did that, and basically just to put down black people and use them as animals. Now, to play devil's advocate again, because although we're all black, this is a panel and a bunch of different races watch us, right? He is right in terms of they do give us different tools to use. America can go out and say they are a democracy, but to be honest, we're a capitalist society, right? We're built off people working hard and basically earning and having that American dream. So we do have tools. The difference between us and the people who succeed is the fact that they have a cheat code and we haven't figured out that cheat code yet.
Okay.
So is the government trying to put us down? Yes, but in a certain degree, not in a full sense, and I hope people understand what I mean by that.
So do you mean more so like the organization or the communication? Like what, when you said cheat code, like is it, we don't have a cheat code apparently,
yes, we
but
don't.
Is it something that we could probably better ourselves in to communicate, to organize?
For example, like all of us in this table, how many of us learned how to do our taxes in school?
They don't teach that out.
Exactly, that's my point.
So,
Okay.
So, just to reiterate and bring everything back together, the question is the government designed to see us fail? And what I want to look at is the us word, because who is the us? And if the us is considered blacks, well, actually no, it's not, because the government was never designed to see us to matter. When the government was drafted, when the government was drafted in 1865, I believe, the Constitution, it was never meant for a black person to matter, which is why the 14th, 15th, and 13th Amendment during the Reconstruction period happened, right? So identifying as a black person in today's society warrants that you don't matter according to law. Now, morally, it's kind of messed up. But going off law, and that's what the United States government does. They interpret law.
Yeah.
You were not meant to matter as a black man.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yes, we can do all. The government isn't designed to see us matter, but we have to realize who we are first, and we have to know that we matter first. You feel me?
So what, I guess, in that aspect, what things are you able to teach, tell, or share to anyone else who feel as though they don't matter, and that their opinion, their vote, their everything, nothing matters because they are of that African American descent? Like, how do you get them in that headspace to say that you do matter and you can make a decision?
Your nationality.
Okay.
Your nationality is really important, and that's the pinpoint that I want to hit on today.
Okay.
Because nationality is the order of the day, right? So teaching nationality, teaching where you came from, for example, i.e. a Dominican man, right? If somebody says they're Dominican and then we ignorantly say, no, you're black, you're disclaiming his nationality, which is pejorative in a sense because he's Dominican. He's from the Dominican Republic, right? So he's a Dominican man, he's not black. These names, black and white, was given to us during slavery in 1774. So keep on clinging to these names deludes to slavery. And according to law, that's what black is. I didn't say it. The law said it. I'm just a repeater. I'm just interpreting the law.
That's right.
So when we breaking down exactly what's going on and exactly what's happening, right? If we teach our people of African descent where they are, who they are, where they came from, and that you're not black, then we'll see a tremendous turnaround rate of what's happening in our government. Because the government was not designed for a black person. Actually, if you look at the Constitution, it's a beautifully drafted document. In the preambles, it says, we the people. You were always a part of we the people, but we can't be a part of we the people if you're black. You feel me? Because it doesn't include black people.
That's true.
Well said.
That's well said. I agree.
That's true.
So moving forward, what do you feel that we as black people in particular, like how can we rise to the top? How can we rise above it when we have so much thrown at us and we're always being kicked when we're down? It's really hard for us to navigate through society.
Right. So the first way you start is by stop calling yourself black.
Okay.
If you look up the Dred Scott case that happened in 1864, he sued for his freedom, and he was in a southern state, and he went to a northern state where freedom was apparent, right? And he tried to sue for his freedom. He got all the way to the Supreme Court case, which only deals with interpreting law, right? So that's what the Supreme Court does. They deal with the Constitution, they just interpret law. And he was denied his freedom because he identified as a black man or somebody with African descent. And it says that those said people will not have citizenship rights in the United States. And what we need to do is we need to claim a certain nationality, i.e. Dominican, i.e. Moorish American, i.e. Jamaican American. You can't be a black American. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. You can't be a white American. It doesn't make sense. They're not white. They're European because they're more pale than actually white. Actually, and we're not black. We're actually all of you, to be honest. So what we need to do is take a step back, a couple of steps back, and really align ourselves with the teachings, the ancient teachings. And ancient doesn't mean primitive. Ancient means, old teaching, right? And realize that we're not actually black. And then once you look at it from then you can look into the Constitution and see that, okay, well, this document isn't that bad. And then once you move forward from the Constitution, you can be like, okay, now my viewpoint is expanded, right? So now I understand that since I'm not black, then this Constitution includes me. And there's nothing wrong with this Constitution.
So you're saying that the way we're looking at it is just a little adverted. We gotta sort of change our minds, the way we think about it and how we teach the culture, and then go from there, because I don't associate, like when people say black and different things, okay, yes, African American, but I'm also Native American as well. So different things, like if I go to flight application, in my mind, I'm like, who do I want to be today? That's just me because I'm a character. So, but I know I have teachings about like the native land. I have teachings about my African American side, my Native American side. So when they tell me, oh, you're Chickasaw Native American, I'm just like, okay, well, growing up, I don't know what that is.
Right.
But as I got older, I started to learn more and more about it
Right.
and why I didn't look like this person or that.
Right.
I didn't look like my brothers or sisters. Like we all look different. I'm like, well, let me take a look at you. You know, not my physical brothers and sisters, but you know, my worldly brothers and sisters. And I'm saying, well, what's your ethnicity and what's this? And, you know, I'm questioning things. So now I'm more intrigued. So when you said that about going back and learning, doesn't got to go back far for ancestry. You just got to go and know where to go.
Exactly.
You know,
And
doesn't
don't
have
go
to
to
be ancient.
Don't go to ancestry.com.
Yeah.
That ain't it.
So is that a
Please
fake?
don't.
Is it a fraud? Or?
Ask your
Ancest-
old auntie and your old
Right.
uncles and them. And so I know I'm joking.
So yeah, ancestry.com is I mean, not to call them out or anything like that, but there definitely is a fraud. Because when you look at it, it'll trace your lineage back to Sierra Leone, which was a slavery port.
It's my country.
Yeah, it was it was a port for
Yeah.
slavery, right?
Yeah.
And that's where they trace everybody back to is Sierra Leone because
Yeah.
they can't really identify exactly. Okay, he came from Morocco, he came from the Congo, he
Yeah.
came from. So they just say Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
That's where you came from, and that's it. I don't know where else you came from, but you came from Sierra Leone, and then we're gonna leave it at that.
Because that's the last documentation. I have a question and this is from very few African people that I know.
Okay.
So on the why do Americans say Black Americans? Wouldn't they just be Americans?
There you go. So
Because
what-
it wouldn't. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, but I got a question to ask. When we get these applications,
It says Black,
it says Black
Slash
or
African.
African American. Should we just choose other? Because technically, you're saying
No,
that.
you're American.
No, I know that, but we're black though.
Yeah.
Again, we have the wait. No, we're not black. But I'm saying that's on the application.
But if you say in the sense of like, and I know where you're coming from, you're completely right. If you say in the sense of you're black, but I'm black, but I was born in Sierra Leone. What about the Jamaican guy? He's black. So if you say Black Americans, you're involving all of us. And in the sense of a guy from Russia, and you're like, oh, Black Americans are thieves. When they see me, they'll be like, oh, he's a thief too. But I'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. So in the sense of you're grouping an entire group of people, which is the majority in the world, by the way, is the darker skin tone people. So to me, it never made sense because black people in this country, I say tribe, it's my favorite tribe. They built this country, they've worked hard, they've suffered, they have done so much for all the other groups of black in the world, and they've done it with non-violence. So in my sense, why do black people in this country, and I'm just saying that because that's the more people know us as, why do they take it? You're an American. You built this country. You deserve to be an American. Why, when people see America, they're like, oh, he's a white guy that's fat and eat McDonald's. No, the people who built it were these guys who were slaves and were forced. So in the end of the day, I say black people have as much right as any white, as any Asian, as anybody else in this country. So that's the question. Why put up with it?
Well, I didn't want to bring up the Black Lives Matter movement, but
Yeah.
I have to bring it up
Yeah.
because you brought that up. So what that movement is a frantic call for help. It's a Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Why don't we matter?
Yeah.
I want to matter. And I just told you earlier, according to the Constitution, you was never meant to matter as a black man, right? You were meant to be property. You were meant to be slavery. I mean, a slave. You were meant to be chattel, right?
Yeah.
Those all negative names that allude to slavery, which people like to hang on to, and I don't understand why, but they like to hang on to.
So, do you believe in? Obviously, you don't believe in the Black Lives Matter movement.
I personally do not agree with the Black Lives Matter movement. No. So, what people want to do is they romanticize the idea of black, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about black is sexy, black is cool, black is hip,
Yeah.
right? It makes money, right? But I'm not talking about that. I'm getting down to the root of things. I'm talking about the law. I'm talking about why we aren't able to change things, why they've marched for the same movement 52 years ago and they just did it yesterday. It's why nothing has changed.
Yeah.
I'm talking about that. I'm talking about if you are still, they identified as black back then and it still hasn't got them nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, but people still have hope, though. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but people still have hope for a better tomorrow.
Right.
That things can change and get better. But we got to keep on like speaking. And I'm not necessarily for the looting, but I feel like you do got to keep on like letting your voice be heard. You do got to keep on like, you know, fighting that good fight. Because I mean, we don't want to keep being at the bottom of the barrel, and it's like we trying to get up and then we knock right back down, and we get up and we knock down again. At some point, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It wasn't, the Constitution was not designed for us, but at some point, I mean, we here, we live in America, we're Americans, so we got to fight for something.
But I feel like if we weren't even put on the list of people to check in to get on the plane at all, it's not going to matter. We weren't even put on the list. The itinerary doesn't list us at all.
So is all of this a waste of time?
No, I don't feel like it's a waste of time, but I feel like we've marched, we've looted, we've fought, we've died, we've done it all over again. We've fought, we've looted, we've marched, we've died, we've fought. The same song. So what can we do differently? Where else can it start?
What can we do differently?
Right. So, and Isaiah was saying that if it has to start back and learn that ancient history, which isn't that ancient, if we have to go back and learn that and teach one another, just like how we have the people who they're hustling and doing what they got to do, the only place that they know is their neighborhood, their street, their block. What can that group of people teach the next? It don't have to be drugs, but clearly they're good at something. In my eyes, they're good at something. They're good at hustling. They're good at wrangling people. They may be good at talking. They may be public speakers. They just don't know it. So how can we bring them in to get them to move as well? We weren't meant to matter. We just weren't meant. Like, if it was a minority thing, we weren't meant to matter. So what else can we do?
What you said was perfect, right? All of that. But do you forget what the Panthers did? They did exactly what you said.
Right.
They went to every neighborhoods. They teamed up, right? They gave out food. They protect. What happened in the end? The FBI, and you guys can look it up.
It went downhill.
And they completely decimated them. Why?
Right.
Because they were seen as
They
a
were a threat.
national threat.
They're a threat.
They were seen as a national threat for multiple reasons. However, you can't give a bunch of black people that just got out of, you know, the Jim Crow era, the Reconstruction, guns, and talking about some, we're in line with the laws. We're in accordance with the laws. I just told you wasn't identifying as a black man. I just told you the laws of the land. You're not in accordance with these laws. So that's why the Black Panthers movement got kind of disemboweled, because they still identify as black. You identifying as black is not being in accordance with the Constitution, and you have no help in America because you're alone in America. You're a lone wolf in America identifying as black. The United Nations cannot come to your help. Example, if something like that would have happened to a Chinese American, China would have been on their help. The United Nations would have interceded. It's no black nation. It's no white nation. We have no help. And you have no help identifying as black. The black person, the white person, was made up, like I said, in 1774 by the European nation. And what we have to do to get our community better is start teaching the people our nationality. We have to start teaching people the importance of voting. We have to start teaching people the importance of love, truth, of peace, of freedom, and justice. Of all these commodities, right? We have to start teaching people these justices, and it all starts with nationality.
That's true, but I would imagine that these things should be taught in schools, but obviously if the system is designed for us to fail, or as you say, we were never a part of the system, they wouldn't put it in schools.
But to come back off that, they are in schools. If you go to these PWIs, if you go to these charter schools, these private schools, they're in schools. But if you go to the public school down the block in Southeast, it's not in that. So that shows you right there that it's a gap.
What do you think is going to become of the Black Lives Matter movement?
I feel like it'll be disbanded. But also, Black Lives Matter movement is funded by a lot of rich Europeans. They make a lot of money off this movement. Black is sexy, black is hip, black is it. You have rappers funding this. You have hashtags for it. You have everything. It brings in money. So it's going to be disemboweled sooner than later, but right now it's bringing in money. So that they're not going to do anything with it.
I would agree that, and I think it's very unfortunate that the Black Lives Matter movement is a temporary thing, and it is, it is a fad to a certain degree. It could be in today, next week it might be out. But what about, there are people that are really holding on to hope
hope of what?
For a better tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then the better tomorrow comes with what?
Well, I guess at this point, we would have to get down to knowing who we are, nationality.
There we go. As long as we keep that at the forefront, we can't go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But if you keep black as the forefront or Black Lives Matter as the forefront, we're gonna be in the same predicament that we've been in, that you was in 52 years ago, that when the black codes came out, that you align with the black codes.
Education is key and it's very important. I don't think a lot of people really understand that, like you said, it's not a black thing because we're not black. A lot of people don't know that because they haven't been taught that. So I think that's the bigger issue. And I think, like you said, it has to start from the bottom.
You mentioned leadership as well, as it would be disbanded because of leadership. But again, being a leader, teach those things, you know? Teach those things about the nationality, but also teach those like, all right, well, you see it as a fad, how can we do it differently? Because like you said, we've already done the killing, the looting, the marching and this. So what could be done differently is we get some more organization going, get some more leaders going, like, you know, all right, this, like yourself, you know, these are your cards, right? You know your cards, they're all laid out.
Yeah.
So this card has been played, that card has been played, that card has been played. What other cards do we have? We're left with education. We're left with that powerful, that's a powerful weapon. Education is a powerful weapon, tool, whatever you want to call it.
Because it's something
very
that
powerful.
no one can ever take away from you.
Yeah, but
to
the
a certain
big
extent.
part, again, I always have to play devil's advocate. The big part of it is that we're missing out is your enemy. You say do all these things, and what about if your enemy is ready for all these things? Look at Black Wall Street. We became rich,
also-
right? We got all the money, right?
I was doing that.
And then they cleaned out that entire city. What if your enemy knows you better than you know yourself? Then what?
Well, then you stop telling your enemies your every move.
Nah. So to answer your question,
Yeah.
your enemy, I'm guessing being America,
Yeah.
right? If the way you combat your enemy is not as a lone person,
Yeah.
right? You do it with numbers, right? We do it as synchronized swimmers, right? We don't do it as Usain Bolt, as a lone track runner. We do it as synchronized swimmers, right?
Yeah.
So even though our enemy, we're staying in the States, right? That treaty that we talked about earlier, of Morocco,
Yeah.
holds weight
Yeah.
because you have other nations that can intercede, and that becomes a human rights issue. And what a lot of people think is that it's a civil rights issue, and civil rights are appointed to you by your state. Certain states appoint civil rights, and they could be taken away, and that's what they were fighting for, is the civil rights. And that's personally incorrect, because if I can give it, I can take it.
Yeah.
I don't want a civil right. I want my human rights. So what happened to George Floyd? That knee on the neck for 9 minutes, he couldn't breathe, that's a violation of his human rights.
Yeah.
And it should have been interceded by the United Nations. However, we can't intercede, well, they can't intercede because there's no black nation in the United Nations.
I'm gonna agree with that one.
Yeah. Me too.
I'm gonna listen because I mean I am learning a lot from you throughout this conversation as well. So it's very enlightening. But the big takeaway for me is that education.
Yeah.
And that ancient education.
That ancient education, and a lot of people associate ancient with primitive,
Yeah.
right? And just they're not the same, right? If you look at history now and if you look at history back then, if you read a book, that we're actually primitive compared to our ancestors. Just because it's ancient, we can learn a lot from them, right? They didn't act like this. They wasn't looting. They wasn't killing one another for the color of their skin.
Yeah.
You know, it was about nations. It was about nationality. It was about helping one another. That love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. It was about that. Now, it's about money. It's about every man for himself.
Power.
And power.
I really do agree with what you're saying, and I hope people out there actually take his advice. You have audiobooks out there. Some of them are free. Look up guys like Mansa Musa. Look up a couple of black, genuine people who are brilliant, smart. Look up certain people that have changed the world that can there's no movies out there about them, you know, but if you read a book or if you read their stories, can move you and make you do different things in life.
And furthermore, I just wanted to say I want to personally thank you for just coming to the table and educating us on things, because there were certain things that I didn't know. And I want to tell you guys that if you don't know something, don't ever be afraid to ask questions. Don't ever be afraid to do research, because at the end of the day, we just got to keep learning and learning. That's how you'll grow.
Absolutely.
And that's the only way that we're going to succeed. So I like the fact that you said it starts and it ends with education.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that.
Thank you guys for having me on the
No
panel.
problem.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
So don't trust anything that I said either, because if you don't know, you just simply guess, right? Look it up. That's how you can be what you know. You want to be what you know. You want to stand concrete, like you standing on the ground. You don't want to guess, like maybe I'm standing on a secure surface, maybe I'm not. You want to be secure. You want to be good.
What advice would you give to those people who are afraid to, or who don't know, and they're afraid to ask those questions and they don't have that education or that research? What advice would you give to them?
Do some research. You got to do some research. You got to look it up. It starts at home. It's a great symbol in Washington, D.C. and Southeast, right across the street from Detail Art. More Science, Temple of America, 52. Come check us out. We can teach you about nationality. We can give you a nationality card. Nationality is the order of the day around there. So we can teach you your ancient history. We can teach you where you came from. We can teach you about other religions. We can teach you about a whole heap of stuff. We give back to the community as well. So, like I said, it starts at home, and it starts with people close to home, and we're close to home.